Yo, what's up? It's Harley. I know no one really asked for this. I know there's been an increase in Neon players recently because of such pro players as Temit, cjaiye, Grumpy, all of those guys. And I wanted to make not necessarily a full kit tutorial, as you can tell by the title. Mostly her movement based. I know a lot of players want to learn how to utilize and hit clips and style on people with Neon, which is kind of the reason why she's becoming such a popular agent among the Valorant community. What I'm going to be going over is not, like I said, not necessarily her utils such as her stun lineups, and how to utilize her walls. Mostly what I'm going to be going over is directional, rotational strafing, dodge strafing, how to b-hop in general. Also, sorry if I do sound a little awkward. This is like my first time doing all of this, so I'm still trying to get the hang of it. I'm kind of going off the top of my head right here, so if it sounds like it doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. So one of the first things I'd say, even before trying to learn how to b-hop, is directional and rotational strafing. Like I said earlier, directional and rotational strafing is basically, think of it as the core of your movement is based around directional and rotational strafing, as what I'm doing right now. Also, I'll have my keyboard cam up. I know I'm a little bit late and I know you've noticed, but I'll have my keyboard cam up so you can see what I'm doing and have a better understanding. So first, to start off, directional strafing is basically your W and S key are your directional keys. Your A and D are your turn keys in this situation. So first you have your forward directional to the right. Next you have your forward directional to the left, your backwards directional to the left, and your backwards directional to the right. Now it's important to keep in mind that your W and S key when doing a directional strafe is your movement keys, and your A and your D are your turn keys. Your turn keys are what help you turn your body. Whereas if I hit only W and I turned, I'm not really turning. You notice how I went a little bit further instead of actually turning. Now with rotationals, it's the same thing, but it's basically switched. W and S are now my turn keys, while A and D are my movement keys. So I have a forward rotational to the right, a forward rotational to the left, a backwards rotational to the left, and a backwards rotational to the right. Those are very important when it comes to wanting to dodge strafe or just move around in ways that make you unpredictable. A good way to practice this is to find something that's stationary and you can move around, or an area in which you can kind of restrict yourself, like red box from icebox on defender side spawn. That's a good way to practice, or attacker side spawn with the pillar right here. Now what you want to do is, as a warm-up for your strafes, you want to pull out your sprint and just start going around it. Now to challenge yourself, try and keep this motion and basically switch to a rotation. Imagine yourself being tethered to the pillar, unable to break free. The challenge is to not lose your momentum or get too far away, and then you switch back to directional. That's a very good way for new Neon players to practice their strafes and their directionals. Now the next step, now that you got the directional and the rotational strafes down, is b-hopping. B-hopping or bunny hopping is basically the ability to jump and be able to keep that motion and that momentum. Now a strategy I suggest you do is, if you go to your settings, I have custom binded to a select agent, so it's like that, but if you want you can set it to general. I think mine are set to general too. Have your jump button double binded, so you have your spacebar and either mouse wheel up or mouse wheel down. This will help you with timing, so you don't have to worry about hitting your spacebar, because because I know hitting your spacebar can be a bit more uncomfortable, and it just doesn't, it's not as consistent as mouse wheel up or mouse wheel down. It's preference, but personally I prefer mouse wheel only because it's easier. With behopping, it's not really that hard to learn. It's actually fairly easy to get used to. All you have to do is, as soon as you hit the ground, just jump, roll, or if you'd like, hit your spacebar as you hit the ground. As soon as you hit the ground, you could also do it while you're not sprinting. Behopping can really be done with any agent, but it's more effective with Neon because of her sprint. As you can see, a technique I suggest when behopping, which is not really a suggestion, it's more of like a must, especially if you're going for like flashy plays or something like that. As soon as you hit the ground, hit either one of your turn keys, so it makes you a little bit harder to hit, if that makes sense. Because obviously you can't really tell from your point of view. I would have like another POV, but I don't have any friends. It makes you harder to hit because you're moving on a horizontal axis. Valorant is all about horizontal aiming. If you're moving horizontally, it's gonna make you a bit harder to hit, especially since you're faster. It's not that hard to master. Definitely say a thing to keep in mind though is you want to make sure your mouse is moving with your keyboard. So when you hit B, for example, you want to make sure you're looking to the left. You're looking to the right, and then when you hit your A key, you're looking to the left. Because if I hit D and then look to the left, it's not gonna work. I'm actually gonna lose momentum trying to. So after you get the directional and rotational strafing down and behopping, how to utilize it, you're basically ready to learn a directional to a rotational. Now before I get into how to do strafe transitions, there's a key aspect you need to learn before going into the whole transition thing, and that's called momentum theory. Momentum theory is basically where you can't switch the opposite direction. You can only go the adjacent direction. It can only be switched by an adjacent key, but to put it simply, if I were to sprint and behop and then try and go back, if I wanted to go backwards without looking backwards, it wouldn't really work, and I'm losing momentum, which is gonna slow me down. So basically, I need to figure out a way for me to do a rotational backwards without turning. Now a way to do this is to do a directional into a rotational, like that. Now I'm gonna provide a little example, but I'm gonna slow it down. The way to do this is you're gonna hit W, which keep in mind is your directional key. What you're gonna do is quickly look to the left and then go into a forward directional to the right. Once you're in this position right here, you're gonna let go of W and transition into a rotational. Once you have your finger on W and it's only W, W and S is your turn keys. Once you're in this position, you can hit S and go back.
Go, go, go!
So to speed it up, it'll look something like this. And I haven't lost momentum. The idea behind it is you can basically circle your way or maneuver your way back to S by transferring between directional rotationals. You can basically not lose momentum when you're wanting to go backwards, let's say, like that. A good way to practice this is, you see this pot right here? I always like to go up to it and just swing around it. Now, don't do what I did and hit this rail. The point is to go all the way around this little pot or vent thing here, and without colliding into anything. So it should look like this. And you can practice it both ways if you want. But the basic idea is you don't want to hit any of these fences or doors, anything like that. Another way to practice this is like zigzag points such as this, or the one on tree leading into A site. I personally prefer the one on tree, only because it's a tighter, not pivot point, but tighter angle. So it gives you a bit more of a challenge, and it makes you a little bit more precise. Another map you can practice this on is through doors on Haven. That's if you want it to be a bit more challenging, because I know the doors on Haven are a bit more tighter than, you know, the wide gap you see here. But yeah, basically just want to practice your transitions, how you go about it. Honestly, you don't really have to worry about, like, if you want, you don't have to like and then circle back and do that. Honestly, it's suggested only because it helps you keep that momentum, but it's also fine, for instance, if you just make it and then you turn around and stuff. But I highly recommend you go back, try and keep the momentum, only so that you basically have like a better understanding of how to do it. A lot of people still surprisingly ask about is sliding. Neon has 4 slides in total, technically 8, but those aren't really discussed as much, which is surprising to me, because those are like, the other 4 are like the most unpredictable, if you want to say. So you have her forward slide, her slide to the left, her slide to the right, and her backward slide. Her backward slide is the most tricky because the timing on it has to be very, very, very precise. But that's without jumping. You can do it while jumping. It's actually a bit more easier if you do it when you're jumping.
I'm out of here.
For example, if you time it just right, as soon as you hit the ground, you press S. It won't work if you hold S. You see how the little slide icon goes away? You could also do it on the ground, but the timing is a bit more precise and the window for it is a bit tighter to hit. But with practice, it becomes easier. You won't have to worry about messing it up. I just say go into a custom game or maybe even the range and practicing the backward slide. The other 4 slides are diagonal slides. So 2 forward diagonal slides. And then diagonal slides to the back. Those basically same concept. They're a bit harder to hit, even harder to hit than a regular backward slide, only because you're hitting 2 keys and it's a lot. But once you get the hang of it, you're basically good to go. You can basically combo it up into anything. That's pretty much it for her movement tutorial. I know it's a little bit short and maybe not as detailed, probably poorly explained as well, but like I said, this is my first time doing this. I'm sorry. Depending on how well this video does and what the feedback is on it, I'll maybe make a stun lineup and wall tutorial. Yeah, that's pretty much her essential movement tutorial guide, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I'm sorry if this is very poorly explained. If you do have questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I rarely get comments, so I can answer them for you. So yeah, later.